Hello guys, welcome to Daddy in the Darn. It's the rematch we've all been looking forward to. Artur Beterbiev versus Dmitry Bivol 2, the last crescendo. We're going to bring you our prediction on that fight as well as an absolutely stacked undercard, possibly the best ever assembled. Before we do that, if you do like the video, please remember to like, subscribe and leave a comment. We will get back to as many people as we possibly can. So now that's out of the way, we're going to get you started with the main event itself. So I'll begin by just addressing the first fight and in particular the scorecards. Obviously it was a win for Artur Beterbiev by majority decision. There was one draw in there and the other two judges had him 115, 113 and 116, 112. For me, I thought Bivol won for what it's worth, but I have no problem with 115, 113 either way for either of the fighters or the draw. I think 116, 112 is a little bit harsh, but it was such a close fight. Such an entertaining fight. No controversy whatsoever for me. It was that close a fight. The scores are going to be a little bit different depending on who you ask. Very easy to make a rematch, and that's why we're all here. So what was apparent when you dissect the scorecards were all three judges scored the first two rounds for Bivol. All three judges scored the final three rounds for Beterbiev. So it was rounds 3 to 9 that were difficult to score and had differences of opinion. I think when you look at it deeper, you can tell on the punch stats and also from the eye test when you were watching it, that they were landing very similar amount of punches in every round and for the fight itself. Not much to separate them, making it very difficult to score. But what I found with Artur Beterbiev, he was throwing a lot more punches, so Bivol was more accurate. I think in Bivol's mind, he was taking this accuracy as meaning he'd win the rounds, which some judges would do that for, because it's a skill you're making your opponent miss, whilst landing the same amount of punches. But some people will look at Beterbiev as being the aggressor. Even though a lot of those punches were not landing, he was coming forward, he was throwing more punches. So it's difficult to score those rounds, but I think Bivol wasn't active in the last 30 seconds, Beterbiev was. So on those really hard to score rounds, Beterbiev was stealing them at the end. He was landing eye-catching shots in the fight, in the closing seconds, stealing the rounds. It's a veteran move, and he did it very well. But heading into the rematch, I don't feel Beterbiev would do anything that different. I think Bivol has the armoury to change it up a bit and be more active and put right the wrongs he did in terms of not being active enough in those sort of dull, hard-to-score rounds. And I don't think he'll let Beterbiev steal the rounds as easily as he did this time. I think he'll be a little bit more active, be on his bike a little bit more, and make sure he closes the rounds out, not leave it for chance. So I'm fairly confident that Bivol will win this one on points this time round. I'm going to say fairly comfortably. I think he'll win 8 rounds to 4, no knockdowns. So for me, I'm going to predict to 116, 112. Obviously, the judges will all have slightly different scores, but some may do the 115, 113. But I'm going to predict with a fair degree of confidence that Dmitry Bivol will win this rematch by unanimous points decision. Daniel Dubois versus Joseph Parker. This is going to be a great fight. You've got the knockout specialist in Dubois against granite chin, very durable Joe Parker. If it goes past 7 rounds, it's going to be very interesting because we all know Daniel gets tired in the later stages and Joe just carries on for 12 rounds, doesn't get tired, always finds a way. Did it against Zhang, he can do it here. I think it's going to be all Dubois early. I don't think it's going to be a knockout just because it's Joe Parker. He can take punches. We're all putting too much emphasis on the AJ fight. He's got a glass chin. Pretty much anyone can knock him out now. But I still think Dubois will dominate early. He'll have enough of a lead. And as long as he doesn't gas out, he'll win by decision. So Daniel Dubois to win this fight by decision. Carlos Adames versus Hamzah Sheeraz next. And you've got two guys that are very dangerous with high knockout percentages. I just feel this one will be a little bit too much for Adames. Obviously, Sheeraz is the favourite. A lot of the Brits will know him from his recent fights. So he's going to have that favouritism just for association. But I think he's looked really sharp in his last couple of fights. He's got guys out of there fairly early. I think he's going to start early this time. definitely not going the distance, and I'm going to say an early Hamzah Sheeraz KO on this one. Vergil Ortiz Jr versus Israil Madrimov next, and Madrimov you would have seen go the distance with Terence Crawford recently. It was only his 12th fight, so it takes some guts to step in there with a pound-for-pound king. Yeah, he didn't win, but he made it to the end. Got a lot of credit for his performance. I think with Ortiz Jr, yes, he's got a great record. He's got a fantastic KO percentage, but I don't really rate his resume. I don't really see anyone on there that stands out and impresses me. I think people are just looking at the records, looking at the numbers, and they're overlooking Madrimov here. And I think he's going to come through and he's going to win this on points. So I'm going to go for Madrimov to cause a miniature shock and win this one on points. Zhilei Zhang versus Agit Kabayel next, and I can't believe the bookies' prices here. I can't believe how much of an underdog Big Bang Zhang actually is. I know Kabayel is unbeaten, 25-0, 17 KOs, but he hasn't fought anyone decent on his resume. Derek Chisora, Kevin Johnson, they're not massive names. It's nothing to be proud about. Everyone's beating these guys. He only fights once a year as well, which is a bit strange. I know people have alluded to the fact that he's being avoided, but I can't see why anyone would. Looking at Big Bang Zhang, he hides from no man. Yes, he's got a couple of losses. Hergovich and Parker, they were both decisions. They were both fairly close fights, so I don't see any issue with his stamina. He's got a fantastic KO ability. Just ask Joe Joyce. And I just think he's the most disrespected heavyweight out there. I think he's going to cause a massive upset here. It's going to shock the world. You're going to get a stoppage in the second half of the fight. Even if it goes the distance, I think he's got enough in there to win. I'm going to say that Big Bang wins this one with a mid to late stoppage. Josh Buatsi versus Callum Smith next, and I'm not really a great fan of the Smith family, to be honest with you. I think they're talented fighters, but they're talented, that's it. I don't think they're elite by any means. They get to world level, and that's where it tends to end for them. So I know his two losses were to great fighters. I listen to Canelo, there's no disgrace there. But I think they've just got a ceiling, and he's on the way down. Buatsi's unbeaten, he's still on the way up. And I think the weight's really good for him. I just can't see anything other than the Josh Buatsi win here. I think it's going to be a fairly one-sided scorecard. He won't stop Smith, he's a proud man. He'll wear his heart on his sleeve like he always does. But it'll be a Josh Buatsi one-sided scorecard decision win. So I've left this one till last because unfortunately Floyd Schofield has had to pull out of the fight. He's been hospitalised, so wish him a speedy recovery and hopefully he'll be back soon. But we've now got Shakur Stevenson versus Josh Padley. Fair play to Padley for stepping in on 4 days' notice. Takes some guts to do that, but it's going to be a one-sided affair here. I can't really see an upset. I'm going to predict that Stevenson wins pretty much every round, unanimous points decision. Wouldn't surprise me if they threw the towel in late because it is short notice. He might not have had a proper training camp. He don't know what condition he's in. So it might be a late stoppage or throw in the towel. But we'll say unanimous points decision for Shakur Stevenson on this one. So there we go, guys. That was my take on an unbelievable fight card. Let me know if you agree or disagree with any of them in the comment section. We'd love to hear from you. And as I said earlier, we will try to reply to as many as we possibly can. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next video.